Welcome back to another episode of the Easy Button Real Estate Podcast. I am your only host today, Colbert Johnson. Today I have one of our amazing, awesome clients who's been a client for a long time of ours, Mr. Brandon Evans out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And today's show is going to be awesome, you guys. We're going into what I think is applicable for everyone in his journey past year of going from a W-2 job to now. I mean, his goal is $1 million this year, and I think he's right on target there as we continue to execute. Brandon's also been a one-on-one client of mine for quite some time, so I'm excited for this episode. So Brandon, kind of quick elevator, high level, who are you? Why are you in real estate? What does your business look like right now? Let's start us there, and then we'll get into the start of your journey from your W-2.
Sweet. Yeah. So, just like you said, real estate investor out of Salt Lake. Basically what I do is I source off-market properties. Some of them I flip, some of them I keep, most of them I wholesale. Just trying to build the business up, focusing more on business strategy and trying to better myself and enjoy an entrepreneurial journey. It's been really fun.
Love it, man. And I think we'll start the show where I think is the most valuable point of your journey, which is I get the question so much. When do you leave a W-2? And I want you to start and talk about first how you first got into real estate at all, because I know even before we met, you were kind of already dabbling in it. So
Yeah.
how did you first get into real estate at all? What was your W-2? What were you doing? And what was that initial dipping your toe into the real estate world?
Yeah, for sure. Love that question. So back in 2017, I started phone sales at a security system company called Vivint. Really great gig. I thought it was just going to be a college thing while I finished my undergrad. I started to realize towards the end of my undergrad that this was a pretty solid career. I was clearing multiple six figures my last year in my undergrad. So I kind of just kept it and built it up a little bit. At that point, got married. We lived in like a little basement apartment. I wanted to get in real estate. You know, probably the cliche answer of I watched some Bigger Pockets episodes and found something on YouTube. But in Utah, the kind of the big strategy, and I like it a lot, is we have basements here. Luckily, they don't flood too often. And so a lot of people stick an apartment down there and rent it out to, a young couple or something. And so my first real estate transaction was that we bought a home, had a little 1 bed, 1 bath basement apartment, and we lived upstairs. And that was kind of my introduction. And it was pretty sweet. It was right as COVID was taking off, like end of 2020, beginning of 21. It was like, sweet, like half my mortgage is paid by my renters and like I'm getting some tax write-offs. This is cool. And, I kind of just started to get more and more interested in it. While I was doing that, I was working full time. Really, really love sales. I think sales is, it kind of has a bad name in the sense, like everyone kind of looks at like the car salesman type of thing. But I think sales is way, way beyond that. It's about communication, relationships. I think it's about building and succeeding. There's a lot behind it. But anyways, with that, I started to do really well in sales. I actually became one of the top at my company. And I don't say that to have an ego. It's kind of where I pivoted my story is like my best year. I hit some company records. I was super excited. And, January next year for our comp structure, they reduced our commissions by 30%.
Jeez.
Yeah. And like, there's a million things that could come from that. It was, publicly traded company, maybe they're just trying to reduce costs. Who knows? But it was an eye-opening to where I didn't feel like I was in control as much. So I think that was the moment I really started to get serious in real estate. We ended up buying another home, moving in, house hack again. And then one of the things I think was kind of cool, and I think I got a little bit lucky, is I had a good friend reach out to me who was, had a pretty successful business, and he knows I was getting into house hacking. He liked that I liked real estate. I actually helped him buy an off-market property out in Mississippi. And then his business partners and him talked to me and said, hey, why don't we do a split up? We'll give you some equity if you can help us find the right deals. And so we did that for a couple years, built out a single family portfolio of about 25 properties. And that's when I started to realize, though, it's great to build real estate, but when you're young and you're trying to earn money, I think a lot of the benefit that people don't realize is active income in this business. I'm sure you'd agree with that, Cole.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I'm going on a little tangent, but from
No,
there,
that's what we're here for.
that's what we're here for, man. So yeah, from there, I kind of started to pivot. I started to learn a little bit about wholesaling. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a buddy that ran Facebook ads. We threw $500 on Facebook with a crummy old house and said, sell my house fast for cash. And I mean, this is the luckiest marketing ever. We picked up 2 contracts. I made 22,000 bucks. And I kind of just like, I opened my eyes up to the possibilities, started seeing some of your content on Instagram, and I was drawn to you specifically, Cole. And for some of the listeners who maybe are just barely learning a little bit about Cole, one thing I really like about him is he executes very high level business skills. He's someone that, he is a real estate guy, but I look at him more as someone that's very intelligent, especially when it comes to business strategy. I could kind of see, like, if I wanted to leave my job, the best course of action is someone who, as far as a mentor or someone who could help me, is I think someone who understands the business side more, like, especially in this tough market. Like, it's definitely more competitive. It has been in years, I'm sure, and it's a little bit harder to get the right deals with rates. But that was something I was really drawn to, is your skill level with business. So I started doing cold calling, and I mean, I'll keep going, but it's just
Yeah,
been a
let me pause you. Let's go down a couple of these rabbit holes.
yeah,
So
yeah, for sure,
you work
man.
your W-2, you start dabbling in real estate. A lot of people do that.
Yeah,
And then you said, I want to make this a serious thing. And
yeah,
that's when we started working together. It was before you left your W-2 and you started using us for at Easy Button for lead generation. And also you and I started working together shortly after one-on-one.
yeah.
So what was it that made you choose using a company like us? Two, I think you've been with us now over almost a year for lead generation. And how has your experience there been so far in growing your business and the service we provide, and how has those leads been? And also, what do you think has made you so successful working those leads day in and day out? 'Cause I would say
Yeah.
your lead to contract is really good.
Yeah, I think so. Cold calling is a different beast. A lot of people love I got a guy off Google, and, I made $20,000 and it's easy. But what they don't talk about is the expenses to get that lead. One thing I love about cold calling is you are going to be on the phones a lot more with sellers. You're going to have to, put a lot more time, energy, and effort into converting a sell. But the thing that I love about it is, if you're new, or if feel like you're lacking experience, especially in sales, talking to sellers and trying to get good deals, it's just free practice. I mean, I especially, even me, like, I have 8 years of phone sales experience under my belt when I started doing this. And I think the first 3 to 6 months, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I was doing that wrong. Like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of mistakes I was making, because it's such an interesting sales model, right? Like, you're inverse selling, you're trying to buy something from someone else. And so it's relationship, it's, understanding, it's making sure that, you don't push too soon. You also understand and listen, you strategize, you're creative. So to answer your question, Cole, like, I think the big reason why I've stayed as a client and why I like it so much is the lead intake I get. I get about 6 or 7 leads a day from Easy Button. And it keeps me busy. I get really cool opportunities to talk to sellers, and I feel like I'm learning at such a higher rate. Like, if I was only doing mailers or Facebook leads or something, I get 1, maybe 2 leads a day, maybe. And that's if I'm spending the same amount marketing. I'm not getting the same reps. I'm not talking to as many sellers. I'm not being exposed. And part of this year is kind of like, I recognize that this isn't the year that I'm going to, have my glory days, my success. It's more the
I
year.
mean, you're doing well, man. I think when people hear that, they go, "Man, why did he leave his job?" Right? Like you're doing plenty well, and you did leave your job, and you're crushing it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you've been very profitable.
Yeah, yeah. No, I have. And like, that's true. And it has been that. But being honest, my mindset going into it, and I think it's a good mindset to have, if you want my opinion, is I wouldn't go into the mindset of, this is the time to, make this massive income. If you can take a little bit of risk, it's the time to learn the skill set. Because that was the biggest reason I jumped into real estate, Cole, was because I saw where I was at with my job, and I could make a little bit over multiple six figures, like 200K a year, but I'm capped there, maybe 250, maybe 300, just with the new comp structures and, how it was rolling. Versus in real estate, it's like, hey, if I take a pay cut for a year or two while I'm learning my skill set and I'm trying to understand what to do, in 3 or 4 years from now, I could be, a 7-figure earner based off what I've seen other guys do. And so like my mindset going into it was I'm going to learn as much as possible. Hopefully I get paid. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things a lot of
Yeah,
people.
no, I think you've always had a good mindset, and for you guys listening, whether you're already an easy button client, you're thinking about it, or just trying to figure out when do you make the leap from your job. I think the one, I think you stockpiled cash from your
Yeah.
W-2. You built a skill of sales, and you waited for a while. Like, you could have jumped much sooner than you did. And the mindset you've taken into the business of understanding that it is a business, it does take time. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to lose some money. You're going to lose some deals, is everything. And I think that's really what separates people that make it and don't, right? Is that some people come into this as a get rich quick scheme. They think that they just, like they saw on Instagram, they start just flipping homes and they get a Lamborghini and they get the big hat. Like, that's just not the way. That's not the way it works, right? And we talk weekly, right? We work one on one together closely, and a lot of hard weeks and painful weeks, and as much as there are good things and awesome things you have going for you. I mean, for you guys listening, Brandon's not a big bragger. He closed a flip recently was over $100,000 in profit. He's done all kinds of wholesale deals, gotten pretty creative, does partnership deals. I mean, he does it all. I would say he's up there for our highest return on ad spend client at 6-7x return on ad spend consistently over the past year that he's used us and worked with us. And I think one of the things, there's two things I want to hit on here and dive deeper into. One is speak to the people out there that are thinking of leaving their W-2, and jumping into running their own business. And two, talk about why you think you're so successful on the phone. And my opinion is it's relationships, and you care about people when you engage with them personally and don't make it just a business transaction. But one is when do you think is the right time to leave the W-2? Talk to those people, and then also talk to the crowd that's struggling to convert leads of any kind, not just cold calling, but pay-per-click, direct mail, whatever it may be. What would your words of wisdom to them be as well on converting more leads and getting more sellers working with them?
Yeah, I like Hermosi's advice on when you should leave your W-2, and I might butcher a little bit, but I kind of followed it when I was going. Is he recommends that whatever your current income is at your W-2, you should be making similar money and then have 3 to 6 months reserves. So if like you have a salary that's 100 grand a year and you're making 8,000 a month, when you have like 3 to 6 months of consistency making 8,000 plus a month on wholesaling, flipping, being an agent, something like that, and you have that consistency, and then as an add-on, you have a reserve of 3 to 6 months, totally recommend taking the jump. At that point, you've set up your base, you're comfortable, you know that you can keep moving forward. And that's exactly what I followed. Like I started, I got my first assignment done in November, and then I left my job end of February, so about 4 months, but each month I was consistently making about 10 to 15,000 on an assignment fee. My marketing was very, very low. I had no staff. And so like it was similar pay to what I was making in my W-2. I had a strong nest egg, which I think is super important.
Super important to
Getting
make that leap.
started. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's super important to have that because, if you have a 0 month, that's okay. Like it sucks, but your focus needs to be on just building the skill set anyways, and then trying to develop it. So I think that's the main thing I'd say. The other thing is I think you'll know. I think you really will. Like this sounds a little bit corny, but for me, it's like I gained every skill I could at my job.
Yep.
I had 5 times I was, at President's Club, which, only top 10% on Department of 400 went. And, I had like #1 earner for a couple years and top installer for a couple years. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to, let people know, like I felt the ceiling and there wasn't much more for me to achieve. And so like a lot of guys, I feel like if they're leaving their W-2, but they're kind of underperforming on their other things, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm guessing that that's probably going to translate to your business career. Like I always say, like try to be a cheap, like do your best in whatever you do.
Yeah.
So I'd say focus on those things. Second point, as far as calls and just, how do you develop skills on the phone? Again, I'm just throwing another Hermosi quote out. Volume negates luck. That's been like, I have a sticky note on my desktop right next to it because I think, if you don't know how to sell and you're like, hey, like, I don't know how my call sounds, my tone was a little bit off. Like those are really great things, but like nothing's going to give you more feedback than hours on the calls with sellers. At least that's what I found because like, even when I first started, like, I'm like, I know how to sell, this is gonna be great. And I totally like, I lost a few deals because,
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
yeah.
maybe pushed too hard and someone else got it, or they ghosted me. And then I saw it on a wholesaler's email list 2 weeks later. And so it's like, okay, like there's things to develop. So that would be the first is just increase your volume. And then when you increase your volume, recognize at times there's going to be, lessons you'll learn like, oh man, I totally screwed that up. Like maybe write it down, maybe talk to, like Cole's kind of been my mentor, and I've talked to him back and forth about ideas. And even like another guy on his team, Nelson, really great guy, also a great salesman. I've had conversations with him, especially when I was first starting. I was like, hey, I feel like I'm messing up on this. Gave me wonderful feedback. I used it and got some good results. So I'd say that. But as far as once you're doing that, okay, you're doing consistent volume. The next actionable step I would put in is you gotta meet them where they're at. Like I personally think that like a lot of times real estate investors have an ego. Like I've just noticed, and that's fine. Like, we're excited. Like, most guys come from like a $50,000 salary and then they're making $1 million flipping 2 years later. They're just ecstatic. But like when you get to someone's home or you're talking to them on the phone, these are sellers that they're usually blue collar guys or gals. They're not making a lot of money. A lot of them are in a really difficult financial stress. They might, be addicted to drugs. They might have really bad situations with divorces, or, there's just all these variables that make them some of the, tougher people to deal with in this world. That's why they're willing to sell at a discount. And so I just find like being their friend and building a relationship that's genuine. Like, I don't care if I buy your home. My first step is just getting to know you and your story. Like, one of the first things I love to ask is like, how can I help? Especially when I know it's a distressful situation where it's like, if I find out there's a divorce or if I find out they're almost in pre-foreclosure, my first question is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, as an investor, like I care a lot about making sure we take care of you. Like, how can I help out? And that opens it up to them telling us stories and conversations. And I think the big thing is talk time is super important, but not on you. Which is funny because all I'm doing is talking on this one. Um,
That's what you're here for, right? That's what a podcast is.
yeah. So we're definitely in that kind of boat where if with talk time and things, I think it's super important to let them just tell their story. Like I think one of my favorite deals I ever did was back in March. It was a guy, his house was so wrecked. He vacated in 2011 and moved back there because he didn't have anywhere to go. And the floor was caved in, the roof was caved in. It was the worst house I've ever walked. And I think the reason I got it more than anything is for 6 months from like November, 4 months from November to March, I called him once a week. We'd talk and he would say the craziest things for 30 minutes. And we just chat for a little bit. Next week, check in. And finally, one week he's like, hey, you know what, Brandon? Like, I just got another offer. Come over. I need to sell. Came over. We closed the deal that day. Signed it 4 days later for 30 grand. So it's like those type of things I think make a big difference is letting the sellers talk, not trying to, come up with these crazy creative strategies. Now, those moments happen, but I think for most of us, we need to build that relationship more than we need to focus on the sales skills. I don't know. I don't know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think you hit on a lot of very valuable things there. I think on the W-2 side, one of the things that stuck out to me that I think is good to double click on is you talking about if you're not a high performer or high achiever in your W-2, it's going to be very hard to run a business because I do believe how you do anything is how you do everything. And
Yeah.
my father-in-law ran a pretty big, really big company. And he always tells me when he was interviewing, he'd always look for, he didn't care if they worked at Panera or Albertsons or whatever it may be. It's if they worked at Panera, were they getting promotions? If they worked at Albertsons, were they getting promotions? Were they elevating an organization? So the excelling in wherever you are right now, if you're working at W-2 and you're having a hard time going above and beyond and excelling and working your ass off, starting your own business is not the solution because it's more work, it's more pain, for a lot of times less money for a while. I think that was a great point to double click on the main thing on the sales side is relationships. I'd say you're probably in the top 5 guys in terms of closing sellers that I've known. And every single one that is in that category, they're all incredibly good at making people feel seen and building that relationship and being a solutions provider. And I think that's why you have such a high return on ad spend with us and why you've been with us for so long is you are really, really good at leveling with people and providing solutions and shaking hands, kissing babies, making them feel warm and fuzzy, which is what you have to do in this business as you provide solutions. So let's move on to another conversation here, which is who do you think is a good fit? I didn't prep him with this question. So who do you think out there that's listening would be a good fit for using Easy Button?
Okay.
And who do you think would not be as good a fit based on your experience with us, you'd met a lot of our clients at events. Like you came out in Park City, you worked with me one-on-one for a long time. So who's a good fit and who's a not good fit? And your raw, honest, real time, impromptu opinion.
Yeah, that's a super good question. I'd say who's a really good fit is if you have the comfort of being on the phone all day. Like if you're okay being on the phone 3-4 hours a day with different people with different problems and that excites you, super good at translation into Easy Button. Because with cold calling, especially if you're just starting out, if you don't have a team,
What if
uh,
they have a team?
yeah, okay, that's a good point, Cole. So it depends on the level of scalability. I'd say if they have a team that would also, okay, yeah, raw question. So let me back this up real quick. Yeah. So depending if you have a team or not, I think the big thing is you need to be someone who is on your leads, day in and day out. Like I'll be honest, like the people who struggle, it's kind of funny. Cole mentioned this a little bit. We have some relationship marketing I've done, and I really love the guys that have been helping out with it. Like, there's been some guys that have a tough time just calling their leads that are with Easy Button. We're in the same area, same market. So I pitched it in my, hey, like I have a lead manager. I love calling leads. If you're not, calling the leads, let's just make sure we know what's going on with them. And so I'll take their leads and call them for me for them, just so that way they're getting taken care of. I'm getting reps, and like last month we closed a $20,000 wholesale. We split 10,000 each. So like it's working. It's been fun. So to go back to your question, I'd say it's people who are willing to call their leads and people who are willing to follow up with their leads consistently. Like if you don't, I would strongly, strongly, strongly advise if you're going to be an Easy Button client to have a CRM, which I think you pretty much require, Cole.
Yeah.
And then learn that CRM. You need to, I don't care if, you call John, he wants $1 million and his home's built in 2020. You still need to put him on what we call a drip campaign. So he's getting text sequences every few months to see if John's situation's changed at all. You need to have a follow-up call with him in 3 to 6 months. And you need to be checking those leads day in and day out. I mean, I can't tell you how many deals I think I've gotten this year. Like we've done 15 transactions, and I think 3 or 4 of them I thought were dead in the water. Didn't think anything of it, but when I called them again, all of a sudden it pops up. That's real estate quote, the fortunes in the follow-up or whatever. It's really accurate from what I've seen. Like just as someone who's in the business trying to build it, you need to follow up with your leads. So you got to be willing to check in with your leads day in and day out. So I'd say those 2 things are important. I also think you need to have some business acumen. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Cole, because a lot of guys, we love real estate. Me and you both love it. I think we both have a similar opinion. I think it's a product that allows us to, have a very profitable business. And so for me, that's the way I look at it. A lot of people look at it as, oh, I'm going to go find my next rental through cold calling. I'm going to find my next flip through cold calling. That's not a bad mindset to have, but I strongly would advise you to translate that to how do I, build this in a way that it's predictable. Okay, every 50 cold call leads I get, I need to make sure that I'm converting one. What am I doing in my system and processes? What can I change? The cool thing about Easy Button is you guys have coaches that can help train them and give them that advice. So as long as you're coachable, you're working hard, whether you're a solo guy or a team guy, I think it's for you as long as you're willing to put in the work. But if you're not, it's going to be a difficult marketing source to be successful on. My opinion. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you, man. That's why. I think our best clients are guys that them and their teams can commit to leaning into the conversion support we provide and our methodology on working leads. And when they do that, their team does that, they make a lot of money. When they don't, or their team doesn't, they don't make as much money. And that's how we built the deal engine. What we do now at Easy Button is you have to lean into both the leads, but also the conversion and running your pipeline and being a professional, right? It's really just our best clients are professionals. They take business serious.
Yeah.
They don't blame other people for their issues. They're not, they're not never calling a lead and blaming it on us or anyone else. They take business serious. They show up, they work their leads, they try to get better, they try to learn, they try to build their team. Those kind of guys that take business seriously, take life seriously, do very well. We have a lot of clients with us for years, and I believe that's the reason why. Is they just take
one thing too. For those guys in markets where you feel like marketing's super expensive, like I'm in Salt Lake, like I'm doing PPL with a partner and it's $600 a lead. So like I'm in one of the more expensive, markets for cost per lead. if you are and you're serious about this business, I think cold calling is one of the best hacks. I think I'm at around $50 a lead right now. And when you do 1 in 44, which is where my, when I ended Q2 is where my data was at, that's roughly I'm spending about $2,500 a contract. If you know anything about this business, average contracts 4 to 5,000. A lot of guys are at 7 or 8. So I just want to throw that out there. If you're looking for a really affordable lead source, this is also one that's really good. And sorry, Cole, just wanted to throw that in there because
No,
I
you're
was like,
good. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. And then we're kind of coming for our time here. But I think everything we talked about today was incredibly valuable. I'm sure we'll have you on again and again. I know you've been a great client, a great resource for us, and a great kind of pillar in our community, what we do at Easy Button. So I've been pushing on you to start building your brand for a while. So if anyone from the show wants to reach out, get in contact with you, chat with you, what's the best way to reach you? What's your Instagram? How do they reach out to Mr. Brandon Evans?
dude, yeah, for sure. Honestly, for you guys, like we could do two things. Instagram, brandon.evans.rei. That's kind of an easy way to just shoot me a quick DM. But, honestly, I have no problem reaching out. If you guys also want to shoot me an email, brandon@utahflips.com. That's a great place for me to just quickly respond. We can hop on a Google Meet. I'm in the business of trying to build relationships right now more than anything. So, I'm only been doing this a year, but if you're struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out. Let's connect, and maybe I can at least lead you in the right direction best I know how.
Cool, guys. Well, Brandon, thanks for hanging out. You guys, as you know, we don't run paid promotion behind this podcast. We only grow through telling your friends, family, coworkers. So please a like, a review, a share. It means the world. Reach out. Let us know who you want to see on the show, what kind of topics you want to see. If you guys do want to start working with us like Brandon and hopefully develop a multi-year relationship with us and really start scaling your business and head in the right direction, you can go to easybuttonrealestate.com. If you guys aren't in our community, we have a free community, over 800 badass operators. You can join below the show notes wherever you listen to this podcast. And other than that, until next time, you're only one deal away.